Luis and Hans Gramajo-Schrei. I got thumbs up. All right. Are a married couple that left their home in Guatemala 3 years ago. They escaped a life of hyper-conservative country where, as a couple, they weren't allowed to exist. And they consider themselves some of the lucky few. Although they are not privileged or rich themselves, they are educated and comfortable enough that leaving was an option for them, recognizing that it wasn't for a lot of the people in their community there. They landed here in Austin. They found their way to a farmer's market where a cookie turned their life around here for themselves. It started a company called Wonderkex that I may have mispronounced too, but I don't know. But the coolest part about that cookie was that it gave them an avenue to show their true colors, literally and figuratively. They had dinosaurs with tutus, disco balls, and more importantly, pictures that clearly and freely present themselves as a family. So here to share their take on the intersection of creativity and pride, please help me in welcoming to the Creative Morning stage, Hans and Luis.
So hello everybody, thank you so much for coming. If it's true that you came for us, we have an announcement to make. A lot of you know us from Wonderkex, our cookie company, and unfortunately, Wonderkex is no more, and we'll tell you the story how that happened and what we're doing next, and how it has been the lesson and the ride of our lives. It is very much about pride, it's about shame, it's about privilege, and it's definitely about creativity. So Luis will tell you the story.
So sorry because we didn't bring cookies, so if you were coming for the cookies, everybody's gonna start leaving now. So I promise we have a cool story. But yeah, so basically what happened to us was like, we wanted to get married. We are from Guatemala, we couldn't get married there. And for us, it was very important to be recognized as a family and have rights. That's something that for a lot of people, they don't realize it because they do have that option. But when you don't have that option, it's really hard when you come to reality and realize that, oh, we're not doing this because we can't. And that happened to us when we made a trip to California in 2018. We drove from San Diego all the way to San Francisco. And it was a beautiful road trip. But in every town that we stopped, we kept seeing gay parents with kids. And that's something that for us, we only saw it in movies. And what was not funny, but what was curious is that when we realized that we were the only ones who were staring at them the whole time. Whenever we were anywhere, we were like, oh my God, it looked like another dad, like two dads and a kid. And it was like, that's when it really hit us. And we were like, wow, we've never thought if we want to have kids because it's not an option for us. And that's not fair. So one thing led to another. We were very privileged to apply for an entrepreneur visa, and we got here to the States. We moved to Austin because it's a beautiful city, it's a welcoming city. It was a city that was growing, and our story would be a very different story if we would have landed in Houston or in another city. We became as successful as we are because of Austin. We always say that we had the version, the in-the-closet version of Wonderkex back in Guatemala. But when we moved here, 2 years after, we had an employee telling us, guys, have you realized that your brand is really queer? And we were like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, you send everything in pink boxes, you have a dinosaur in a tutu, and you have a disco ball in the kitchen.
It is very, very gay.
And we were like, okay, you're onto something. But what was beautiful was that when we realized it was because for the first time in our lives, we felt like we could be ourselves, that we could express ourselves through the brand without being afraid of what people were going to think. So we started organically getting very creative. When we felt that we were in a safe space, we started feeling very creative and very passionate about our project. And that's when everything started flourishing. So that was beautiful to see it happen organically, and we didn't force it. One thing led to another. We went viral back in 2020 because of a tweet of a celebrity. So our business grew from a farmer market stand to $5.1 million in the space of 18 years, 18 months. But like around April on 2021, we were discussing that we were making tons of cookies, and we were getting tired. We were getting tired because we didn't feel inspired anymore. Like
we were also fighting a lot.
Yeah. You were. No.
That, see where the fight starts?
Honey. Behave. No, so it was like we were talking about that we were not passionate anymore. We were just doing cookies and selling them, and it was like no meaning. And we were like, either we have to sell the business, we need to do a twist or something, because we're not feeling the passion anymore. So we were talking about it, then we got the chance to do a collaboration for Pride with Dan Reynolds, the lead singer from Imagine Dragons, because it turned out that he ordered cookies out of the blue. And we got to talk to him, and he
sent an email saying, "Hey, are you the Dan Reynolds?" Yeah. And he replied, "Yes, I am the Dan Reynolds."
Are you taken? No.
That too.
That was the second question.
I will have you fine with it.
No, so he has a foundation that helps the LGBTQ youth, and he was like, we should partner up and we should do a collaboration for Pride. And that was the first time that for us was like, wow, we truly feel comfortable finally talking about being proud of being a gay couple. So we announced it, we were super excited. We had 150,000 subscribers, so we sent an email saying, we're a gay, Pride gay Guatemalan couple supporting the LGBTQ community, and immediately in 1 hour we lost 10% of our subscribers. And all the communication that we started receiving was, I hope you guys die, the cookies are gonna give you AIDS, if I knew you were gay I would never buy the cookies, so on and so forth. It was very scary because everything that we had built was just getting destroyed just for the fact because we were gay. And on top of that, what was very frustrating for us was that we realized that was taking us by surprise, and we were like, dude, we come from Guatemala, we were running from that. It took us 2 years to be in Austin, that it's a beautiful city, but at the end of the day, it's a bubble where you feel comfortable, and we forgot our story, we forgot where we were coming from. And we were very frustrated because how was it possible that we were running from that and it took us 2 years to forget, and that took us by surprise that homophobia is still a thing? I mean, it happens in Georgetown. And so it was very, very upsetting, but at the end of the month, we received an email from a father saying, I think that my son might be queer, I'm not 100% sure, but I just wanted to show him support, so I got the cookies from you guys to show him support and to let him know that whenever he was ready, he can come talk to us. And that really clicked with us, and I was like, okay, we're doing more than cookies. Our story is being heard, and we could create something way bigger than this. You want to continue?
No, like, cue a few months later, and I'm gonna make it short because we have cried a lot over this. But we got an investor, and the investor, well, he put money into our company, but at some point, he was not very happy about what we were doing. Tutus, dinosaurs, disco balls. We're very, very gay. And he sat us down, he brought a consultant and a PR person and sat us down and told us, you need to tone it down, you need to stop it, you need to be less gay, because otherwise all of the doors are gonna close on your face. So either you change course or I'm out. And this was set up in a contract that was, no, I wish. But the thing is this, this was set up in a contract that was not the best. Entrepreneurs, and this is where the sensitive part is.
He got really creative.
That's true. But anyway, what ended up happening with this is like we said no. And the reason we said no was because, a lot of entrepreneurs start with this great idea of the thing that they want to live in the world. Like if you're 22 and doing the thing that you want to build, sure, you hope that it will make millions of dollars one day. But the reality is that you're doing it, the only way you can get through it is if you're really excited about what you're building. But what happens a lot of the time is that, I have this mission, I'm gonna make collaboration easier and better for everyone. And then you get that mission chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. So 10 years later, you're the very successful entrepreneur who is having a $50, $100 million exit, and you forget about the mission. The mission is gone. So we feared that didn't happen to us because it was so violent. It was so obvious. And at that point, we didn't know anyone. So what we did was we went out and we started talking to a bunch of people. It was the day before South by, and we started talking to a ton of people and asking is this normal? Should we listen to this? And the resounding answer from the type of people that you will find at South by, for instance, was no, keep going. Well, to make it short, this ended up in disaster, ended up in a lawsuit. We were in a chokehold. Our contract had us in a chokehold where we couldn't hire anyone, get investment, a lot of things. It ended up in a lawsuit that was designed not to resolve an issue. It was a lawsuit that was designed to make us bear the cost of it so that we will go under. I think the expectation was that we were gonna vent, but we said fuck that. So we didn't. And the thing was that the expectation was that this was someone who even abused the immigration system against us. Actually, the long story is about immigration as well. But the point is that we had at that point found our reason to be the thing about building safe spaces, and that was the thing that we wanted to do. So it was horribly painful to let go and to come to the point where we said, okay, we need to stop because this has been the thing that we built together. But we said, look, you know what, that's enough. At some point, a lawyer told us, you're basically working to pay me and you can barely afford me. So, okay, so we closed it down and we had to let go of our employees, and it was horrible. All of them are immigrants?
Well, I'm here.
So, yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, we closed it down and it was very painful and we cried a lot. And this is where it gets very interesting and where the creativity and the part about storytelling that we think is very important. Because we were at first terrified, and then we started seeing ourselves as victims, as the helpless victim. And a lot about the storytelling is how you paint yourself, because I guess to a certain extent we were victims. This person really laid a plan, we fell for, I would say 75% of it. Thank God we didn't fall for the rest of it, because had we fallen for the whole thing, at some point we didn't sign we had a contract in front of us and we refused to sign it. Because that would have put us a step removed from indentured servitude. You wouldn't believe the things that you can do with immigration here. So at first we were victims and we cried and we wrote the version of the story that was, oh my God, they did this to us. I actually correct Luis a lot about, because he thinks the thing that happened to us, fuck no, those things don't happen to us. The thing was, we stopped seeing that and we cried. And we found someone who told us, you know what, you can cry for 15 minutes a day and then you should be done. And we said, you know what, this is helpful. And a little bit later, we didn't even need it anymore. But the thing is that over time, we wrote the horrible version. We talked to a few people. I actually remember very vividly going to a meeting on Zoom with my eyes red, we cried together, we cried alone. Actually, we discovered that one of the hardest things, I think we both did it, we were trying to hide that we were crying from each other. And then we made a deal that we are, you can cry as much as you want, but you don't get to cry alone because we have you. That's literally what we did.
That was it.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, we cried and we wrote the version, and one day we'll publish it, because it is there was a line about how we started that really broke me. I remember Luis went to the kitchen to fire our employees, and I was writing this because we're gonna write it down and tell the story. And it broke us down. I remember calling him absolutely a mess. And then we shared it with someone and the response was weirdly off. No one wanted to hear this, but this is a lot. And someone said, this is someone we trust. No one wants to hear the story because you're painting yourself as a victim. So unless it has a happy ending, keep it to yourself. Talk about the hope. Talk about the things that you can do next. Talk about your story, but not as the victim, but as the survivor. And talk about the grateful survivor, that you get to come to America. And this happened on the 4th of July, which is very curious. The decision was made on the 4th of July. Talk about gratitude, talk about creativity, talk about the things that you are gonna do, the things that didn't break down. Because at the end of the day, we were very proud and we kept from a place of shame. And this is the thing. this was something that we're very scared of sharing because as entrepreneurs, we have been out there. A lot of you maybe have seen us out there. We have spoken in places, and we did an accelerator, and and it's very embarrassing, and you're kind of ashamed. So we feel like, you know what, we are doing away with the shame, and we're going to share the story. And you know what we realized? A lot of people have been going through very similar things. It was not only us, and some people like really were grateful that we were like, oh, this happened, this sucks, and moving on. And that allowed them to talk. So that's what we figured out, and that's what we're doing now. It's called the Sunday Afternoon Project, and I'm not here to sell you, I am here to show you. The whole idea, the Sunday Afternoon Project is a nonprofit. The idea of the nonprofit is that we're building loudly, as you can see there, at the intersection of commerce, media, community, and education. And the whole thing is this: telling our stories in any way that we can is how we change the world. We think that all of these things about media, what you're seeing is that it used to be that you will see what was happening out there, and you knew, okay, so the New York Times saying this, and this was on TV. Now it's every day, all the time. So we're talking all the time about the things that are happening, and we don't know who to listen to. So the thing is that we might as well be part of it. Like if you say, oh, TikTok is horrible, I'm kind of maybe agree with you somehow, but it's not going away. So if you think like, oh, my kids are not going to have TikTok, the reality is that the world is super interconnected now.
So better use it for good.
So let's use it for good. And let's talk about how we tell our stories and how we use that. So what this evolved into with the Sunday Afternoon Project is, how do we enable people to use their stories? Because this is what we learn about telling the story. We all think we are the main characters in our own story. We love sharing me. And that was the problem. It is not about you. Like sharing your story is, the way we see it, an act of generosity. It is, how do I allow others? Because that is actually how the cookie started. And this is where it relates to pride. This relates a lot to queerness. The thing about queerness, and if you are queer or know someone very closely who is queer, a lot about queerness is about someone told me their story in different ways. Someone literally told you a story, some signal. You saw this on TV, you had a gay uncle, whatever. That gave you permission, in a way. And then you internalize, oh, this is who I am. And then the next step is you externalize it. And you say, oh, this is who I am. Not to yourself, but to the world. And that in itself gives permission to the next guy. So the reason that you see kids who are now coming out when they're 12 is because there are so many signals out there for them, because there's a bunch of brave men that 50, 60 years ago told their stories. And if that is true for the queer community, that is true for everyone. The telling of the story is not for your benefit, it's for you to create a safe space for others to tell theirs. So that is what we're doing. And it's been such a journey, because it is not only about like who you are and the story that you tell. It's about the times that you say, you know what, this is my time to close it down, to listen. And then we talk about things about like the gay community, like this is universal. This is about the gay community as much as it is about straight white men. It is, let's allow you to tell your story. Okay, good. We have 5 minutes. And I can keep talking for an hour, that's my problem. So anyway, I do this a lot, I get excited. But anyway, so the goal with the Sunday Afternoon Project is that we all learn to build a world that we create a world that is a safe space for everyone by sharing our stories. So what we're doing, and what we're very excited to do, and we will hope that you will join us, is we are creating the Sunday Afternoon Workshop. It's a workshop for storytelling. And the idea with the storytelling is like, sure, tell your story, that's great. But also identify who you are in the story, because a lot of us, we think of ourselves as the main character, and we're like, I'm the everyman, I am the main character, I'm the hero. Which sure, you are the hero of your own story, that's perfectly fine. But you're also the sage in someone else's, and you are the jester in someone else's, and you need to find what your place is in some other people's stories. And that's how we don't like to talk about like, DEI in the sense of, okay, it is pride, so we're gonna talk about our queer brothers and sisters, which I as a queer man hate it, personally. Like, I guess it's well-intentioned, but I don't really like it. I would really rather have it be that I get to share who I am constantly, every single day of the year. But the thing is that sometimes you are even the villain in someone else's stories, and you need to identify that, and you need to say, at this time I'm gonna just shut down. And the last part of it is this, and this is about leadership. How do we build around ourselves? And the magic about stories, you know how Harry Potter can fly, Harry Potter can make magic, but he cannot fly? That is the same thing that happens for leadership, and it's the same thing that a successful leader does for themselves. If you create the rules of engagement for the story, then that allows others to interact with it. That is what a successful fantasy story is. Like, you know these things, and you get to apply. So the idea is that we're building these workshops where we're running them as a study because we have a nonprofit and we want to do good in the world, but we're not sure exactly how. I mean, we have an idea, clearly. But the idea is that we're running a couple test workshops so that we can get your ideas on that. And we can get, okay, so how I benefit from storytelling, how I am able to benefit others, and how do I get people excited about them telling their stories. And this goes back to our cookies, which is how they started and how they really were successful. Because the belief was that the foods we share help tell the story of who we are, and that by openly, fearlessly sharing the story, we create the safe spaces.
And these workshops, we are all the proceeds from the workshops are going to fund the foundation. And we have like a corporate version for employees. We have the corporate version for marketing teams and sales teams with their VIP clients to create more like a stronger relationships with them. And we have a lighter version that you guys can host a mini fundraiser. And we do a baking party around storytelling and creating your own space, a safe space. So if you want to learn more, you can.
Oh, they're going to pass like these cards with these QR codes. We hope that you will subscribe. You just have to scan it. And I'm going to read you how we ended up.
That's only to subscribe so we can keep you updated on what we're doing and send you information.
Yeah. And I'm going to read you how we ended up deciding to tell our story. And I think you're going to really enjoy this. Once upon a time, in the greenest part of the developing world, two daring souls, Luis and Hans, embarked on a quest to find their safe space, a realm where their love could flourish and they could truly become a family. Guided by their 4 faithful canine companions, they set out for a distant land known as Austin, Texas. There, they discovered a magical safe space beyond their wildest dreams. United in love, they fearlessly embraced their true selves, forming a company that illuminated the world with their enchanting cookies and the tales they told through them. Yet, lurking in the shadows, a wicked investor gazed upon their magic with envy. He cast a malevolent curse upon their company, seeing that they were too gay and demanding they surrender their vibrant spirit, forsaking their true identities and their cherished story, or else see their beloved company suffocate to death. In the battle for being faithful to their own identity, the company vanished in front of their eyes. But the wicked investor had not foreseen the power that lay not with the cookies they baked, but with the story they carry in their hearts. From the ashes of loss, a radiant phoenix arose, the Sunday afternoon project. They embarked on a new mission, to build a world where every soul could find a safe space to shine. They did not live happily ever after, for that is what got them into this mess in the first place. They understood that such endings were fragile and should never be taken for granted. Instead, they lived in constant vigilance, wearing the crown of their own story proudly, cherishing every moment of the battle they fought together. And that turns into, too long, didn't read. We did not leave everything behind to be told that we were tone it down, that we're too gay or to be less loud. XOXO and San Luis.
We're going to have a little time for questions. We're running up against the end of time. If you have to leave, understand. But we're going to probably take 3 questions from the crowd, and then you can see Hans and Luis afterwards if you have even more time. So I see a hand up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Katie run the microphone to you so everyone can hear you.
No.
I think every step of the story you told required a lot of risk taking. Leaving your home, starting businesses, and now restarting. What do you do to access your bravery, or how do you choose what risks that you're going to take?
Yes. Wow. I really think that the fire that we have inside it comes from how we were raised, I guess, that we were taught never to give up. Even that, in my case, for example, when I came out, it didn't go well with my family, but I always had that spirit to wanted to help others because I know how hard it is. So the passion that I feel, and now that we have this foundation to provide a safe space, the one that I didn't have that I would have loved to have when I was a little kid, that's my fire inside. Like bringing this to people, and because I experience now that the best asset that I have is who I am and what the person that I became right now. So that's where I find my fire.
Yeah, and for me personally, there's something about the curiosity of always looking for what's best, what could be better, what is out there, and that's what told us, like, you know what, there's more. The world is bigger, and the experience. And I really hope that every American could. Like Americans are kind of blind to this because, of course, they were born here, but I cannot tell you like how every step of the world, every step of the way, the world has just gotten bigger, and there's just more to be curious and explore, and that is really a thing that drives us.
Other questions? Oh, I'll leave that. Go.
You guys have talked about how you plan to give back through your new organization by ways of storytelling. How do you plan to give back through, like, how will you use the donations and things like that? Or what's your vision for that, if you have one yet?
Yes. The goal here, like, and the mission of the organization, like in a more impact side, is to create media literacy. The thing about media literacy is not only about strictly about media. It is about not being able to read media, which is something that we see a lot with, say, the propaganda surrounding our elections. We're frankly terrified about what's going to happen next year, but also financial literacy, emotional literacy. So all of those things, it starts with media literacy because telling the stories is the medium that we use. But the idea is, how do we educate in the sense of how do we allow you to understand the world? So the whole point of the workshops is that we're trying to get 1,500 participants so that we can run a study and then understand exactly how. Because we don't think it's fair to go, hey, give me $100,000, I'm gonna go do good in the world. Like, so we're taking it very slow, but that is the idea, like really education.
Why Sunday afternoon, not Monday evening, Wednesday?
Thank you.
Yes, Sunday afternoon is because for most people is the time of the week that we are looking forward for it. When we can be ourselves, we can just be like truly ourselves. We can go for ice cream with that, or on a date. Like, that's when you feel the most comfortable and when you're yourself. So Sunday afternoon, we're in this search of our forever Sunday afternoon.
Actually, we're doing a documentary and it's called Forever Sunday Afternoon, and it's about the fairy tale, like how you land there, and it's a perpetual thing.
Well, I'm a big fan of Friday mornings, but I think Sunday afternoon is okay.
Once a month.
That's
we
the
want
slogan.
to we want to thank Hans and Luis one more time for sharing their story with us.
Thank you.
Like I said, they'll probably be hanging out, but